Hey, welcome to another episode of Reels and Guilt. Today's a special episode. We have the child with glasses. Oh my god.
At least our lives are not boring. That's
wrong show, wrong network. Next subject.
Okay. Scram, kids.
All right, so
Kids.
I don't even remember. Look. Oh, we got kids laughing in the background already.
We got the Peanuts
It didn't
gallery
take
out
long.
there. I think Stetler and Waldorf called. They want their tickets back.
Oh god, so today is episode 34. Wow, 34 episodes. And COVID's really giving us a lot of stuff.
Say that
That's going to
every
be my
time.
age next year. It's almost like
Wow,
this was
34
fate or
episodes.
something.
I mean, because I never thought we would hit like 3 episodes.
I don't know why you say that. When you set your mind to
3
something, you make it
episodes. That's a
happen.
trilogy.
Well, 34 episodes
Well,
in,
Dr.
and
Brown taught us, if
today,
you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
yeah. So today we're going to be celebrating possibly one of the greatest in-ring personas of professional wrestling ever, Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker, who tomorrow at Survivor Series it will be 30 years on the day
To the day
that he made his in-ring debut at
as The Undertaker.
At November 22nd, 1990. The Undertaker. He was part of the $1 Million Man's team.
1 second.
Oh, kids are fighting. So I figured we would do an episode and kind of pay our
Turn the
tributes
camera
to.
around on them, see if they're. Maybe we can take bets on who wins.
No.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to humiliate them on live television in front of 20,000 people who are watching this live, including Mark Calloway himself. The Undertaker is watching us, so we better watch our words carefully.
Well, I don't think
Yeah.
Vegas
The
is
kids'
open to
attention.
place
They'll
like
never know
that
what hit 'em.
anyways.
No.
I don't condone
we were not killing
condoning the Fight Club of children, but
They weren't actually fighting. It's very scary how a
This is,
party
an episode
sounds
of,
like
Sunday
fighting.
Night Heat? That's
So,
tomorrow,
Ryan,
kids. Sunday Night Heat is on tomorrow's show.
Yes. So, Ryan, I know you weren't always around for The Undertaker and that time of wrestling, but I'm sure you've seen clips of that debut. Yes? They're on YouTube.
Yeah. Back in the... No, it's cool. It's back in the day when VHS tapes were a thing, ladies and gentlemen. I had the pleasure of going to a place, I think it's still around, but it's coming to its last couple of legs, maybe. FYE, Sam Goody, whatever the heck it was. I bought Undertaker, This Is My Yard biographical tape that the WWE put out at the time. So basically it was about the beginning of his career all the way up to where he was at that point, which I think led into 2002. Granted, I didn't start watching pro wrestling until 98, 99, but that's beside the point. But yeah, I saw the clips of his debut. Matter of fact, I just watched it again last night. That $1 Million Dude, Ted DiBiase. Everybody's got a prize, just introducing the guy. Yeah, and then what was his name? Roddy Piper was involved, the character, and then Gorilla Monsoon was like, how tall is this guy? 6'9", 6'10"?
Yeah,
Even the kids
I remember.
know what's up. So,
Yeah, I remember
it was fun intros, man.
Roddy Piper saying, "Look at the ham hocks on that guy."
Yeah. What is he 9? 6'10", 6'12"? What is this guy? Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah. It was a good intro too. Good intro for the character.
Yeah, and this was before Paul Bearer, of course. So he was with Bruce Pritchard, who was the Brother Love character.
Yeah.
Who was double timing. He was on screen as a manager / like announcer dude, and then he was also a producer backstage, and it was getting too much for him, so they needed to find someone that would be the mouthpiece for the Undertaker. And I think it was almost 3, 4, maybe 5 months into the character is when they introduced Paul Bearer, which was William Moody, who was big in the Southern wrestling scene, and rest in peace, who passed away a few years ago. We just watched that documentary on him. If you have not seen it on the WWE Network, it goes through his whole career. His wife having cancer and fighting through it, and him leaving
Being
wrestling
there for her every step of the way.
Yeah,
I think the inception of the character, though, I think it came at a really interesting time when they were looking for the weirdest shit to put on TV, and like adding that to it just kind of made the cast of characters that much more like outlandish and fun. And I think that's what made the 80s in wrestling so much fun. And then even into the 90s, where you had like a handful of guys who were still very much a caricature of themselves. Like, I think that was kind of, you know, I think that's what hooked me. I think I do. It's like fighting and soap opera all mixed into one.
Yeah. There was something about the Undertaker, though. Like, he was a presence. Like, you just, there was something different. It was, I guess you would say, something similar to Andre the Giant.
Well, there was a stoic quality, like a figurehead kind of quality, where he was like I don't want to say regal. That's kind of not really what I'm looking for. But like, it was like a, you know, like you just kind of knew that he was a status symbol. Like, I don't know. I'm not finding words for it right now, but.
He definitely had like a different look than the rest of the wrestlers, and just the way he was able to stare off into space and just look creepy was just enough to like command attention.
Yeah, and what's funny is what's funny is the real guy, Mark Calloway, and the Undertaker.
For him to get an Oscar for it, then why not the Undertaker?
The funny thing is that Mark Calloway and the Undertaker are like completely different. Like, you know, Mark Calloway's this Texas boy, and the Undertaker being from Death Valley. It's like nobody knew if it was really gonna work.
But is it really different? Like, this is my whole thing about the persona and then the character is that he was quiet for 30 years. Like, there wasn't any moment where he broke his silence and was broken character where anybody ever saw him.
Yeah. And I mean,
for 30 years.
He went on talk shows like Regis and Kelly, and I think he was on the Arsenio Hall show, and they might have done Jay Leno, but he never broke character because he
was
is
always Undertaker.
He's old school. So like the old school, you know, wrestlers, they the business is like a part of them, and like it's kind of like how magicians don't want to reveal how they do the illusions,
reveal their secrets.
So I was just recently listening to Mark Calloway talk about how even to this day it's hard for him to break character and talk about, you know, everything that he's been a part of because he still has that old school mentality.
So I think we should talk, like, before we talk about any of the like documentaries that have been put out as of recent, like as of the
like 30 of them.
Wrestlemania, you know, like there's 30 years of classic stuff that I think we should talk about.
Yeah, and I know I'm not wearing an Undertaker shirt. I'm wearing a Stone Cold Steve Austin shirt. I want to say that
why
rivalry
is that? It makes no sense.
Well, doesn't have an Undertaker shirt.
I don't have an Undertaker shirt, but I wore this shirt for a reason.
That was clean.
And in
That was the only clean
1998,
shirt he had in his wardrobe.
That's not true, by the way.
I believe it was 1998. It was SummerSlam Highway to Hell, and it was Steve Austin and The Undertaker.
Oh yeah.
The match itself wasn't all that great, but the build-up was excellent. It was one of my favorite rivalries. Something kind of funny that happened in that match was when Steve Austin got his bell rung, like literally. Undertaker had he was going to do a flip, I believe, and he came up and his head hit the bottom of Steve Austin's chin, and he was like knocked out for a few seconds or so, and yeah. So the match itself wasn't all that great, and both will tell you that it wasn't so great, but the build-up was really good. So I think that's worth noting, talking about the Highway to Hell, because like they had billboards everywhere. It was at Madison Square Garden, which is a very famous arena, not just for wrestling, but for boxing, for concerts. Just it's a landmark of when you think of New York City, you think of Madison Square Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had like on the subways, on buses, on billboards, and it wasn't just in New York; it was everywhere.
I think, but there was the powerhouse of wrestling at that time. Like they were the two guys that were stand out.
Yeah, they were like the guys because Steve Austin was coming off of his win at WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels. Because Shawn Michaels had to go have back surgery, so he was out of business for a while.
And I think that, like, even when the Undertaker wasn't there, he was always there. Like,
yeah,
you know, he showed up and he laced up boots when he needed to, and he was there for the people backstage when he needed to be too. And I think that was the difference between, you know, him and other people and his presence in the ring. Like, I think that was just like,
yeah,
that's how we do things. This is what we do.
Yeah. Two things that you'll hear about the Undertaker is that he's a ring general and a locker room leader.
Yes.
And if I'm getting this right, a ring general is someone that knows how to control what's going on in the ring and make it look good. Even if it's the crappiest of situations, he gives it its all. He knows that everybody in the audience has paid their fair share to be there, and they want to see the Undertaker.
And he talks about that too. He talks about how, you know, if the matches weren't good, like it living up to his standards, like
right, he would tear
how
himself.
Important it was for him to, you know, his standards is like he would tear himself down instead of the other guy. Like he'd say, well, we should have done this, and or, you know, it was more about him and his you know, standard than knocking the other guy down a peg, if that makes sense.
Right.
I like Terry's comment here. I can honestly say I've never been a Taker guy.
Wow.
You know what? It's hard to say.
What are you doing on this show,
Terry? I was a huge fan of The Undertaker, but for some reason, his match with Ultimate Warrior will always stick in my mind.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was this when the Undertaker had put him in the casket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's when they did the whole. That was the whole Papa Shango thing, right? Papa Shango then came out and put a spell on him, and Ultimate Warrior did the whole shaking and he was bleeding from his face and he vomited and all that. Yeah, that was an interesting angle that they did there.
It's like those moments. It was a little too showy. But
remember, that's
the part that I don't miss about the '90s, but it kind of always led up to the crazy stuff that would happen when the Undertaker walked into the ring. It's like, that somebody's getting buried and somebody's gonna get pile drived and somebody's gonna get potentially there's going to be fire because
Yeah.
that
Like,
that was a thing too.
If you look at today's wrestling and you look at 90s and
Bolts of
80s
lightning
wrestling,
coming down.
there's really not gimmicks. The only gimmick wrestler, I don't know if you want to argue this, is the Fiend, Bray Wyatt.
Well, where there's a mask and
or like a gimmick type character,
like a goofy
like
shit thing that goes with it.
over the top. Like
Sorry.
if you look at a lot of like
He's
a
trying to
lot
be
of
like
the
a
wrestlers.
I'm not a
from
Bray
Mad
Wyatt
Max.
fan. Like,
Well, I'm just like
I don't get I don't get it.
Jeez.
I just don't. I don't.
when
get it.
you're talking like gimmicks, like character type gimmicks.
I mean, you're probably right, but like when I think gimmick now, I think gimmick as in their character in the ring, because a lot of them are not the same person when they walk out of the ring, like that.
Oh my gosh. Wow, Terry is bringing the heat in the locker room, aka the chat, because he's saying there were 15 of us that sat around till 4 in the morning watching Mania when it all went down when Taker's streak was finally beaten. He jumped out of his seat cheering yes, while everyone else sat in disbelief, including when the camera went on that guy in the white t-shirt and his eyes were bulging out of his sockets. Because he couldn't believe what the heck was going on. I agree with you. Like, why would you end Taker's streak? That makes no sense to me. If he's going to walk away with something to retire with, why couldn't he have taken his WrestleMania streak with him? That's ridiculous.
Brock
Lesnar beat Taker. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I'm fine with
the
the
Ministry
streak
of
being
Darkness.
beaten.
Yeah, that was creepy crawly stuff, Terry.
I like the Ministry of Darkness,
and we'll get that in a minute.
Shit.
That
But
was
I
creepy
do have.
crawly stuff. That will give kids nightmares for decades.
Yeah, I'm okay with the streak being beaten. I'm not okay with who did it, and I will never be okay
why
with who
Brock,
did it
though?
because
It makes no sense.
Okay, well, I'm the resident Brock hater in the group, so I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I was pissed. I was pissed.
I'm surprised it wasn't Kane. Like, if there was anybody
Yeah,
that
if it would have been his brother or one of the other guys in the back.
I wish it had been
Way up the mountain,
anybody.
like
I
everyone
wish it had
else.
been
Now, granted,
anybody
Brock
but Brock Lesnar. Shawn
Why him?
Michaels, AJ
Why?
Styles. Pick Kane. Yeah,
Triple H.
pick another person. I fucking hate Brock Lesnar.
Maybe the match we should have gotten, which would have been a great and not really end to his streak. I mean, if you want to end his streak, fine. What if it were Sting and the Undertaker and Sting won and beat the streak? That would have been $1 billion payday for the audience and people in the back. That would have been awesome.
well, that was the match people wanted. Like they wanted that 98, 99 Sting, and that like era Undertaker. That would have been like big bucks. Vince knew it. But Vince couldn't get Sting because Sting was in that AOL contract.
Yeah.
So he couldn't come over to WWF when they bought WCW.
Making a late appearance. Sean!
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Who says they were late? Everybody's on time in this neck of the woods. What are you talking about?
Hey, Sean, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear us.
Apparently that's a no.
He must be in another galaxy because he
Might
I don't
have to
think he can hear
change
us.
your audio settings.
Far away.
Yeah.
Hey, there we are. I just barely can hear you. I'm having a little buffering issue, I think.
No.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, if you need to step out and step back in, you're more than welcome to.
Sometimes that works.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Why don't you hop out and then hop
You just
back
reboot
in?
yourself.
Refresh the page.
Okay. Let me step out and I'll come back.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I kind of do like
Sounds good.
Terry's comment there. Can you bring it up? I genuinely thought Punk.
Which one? Terry's made like 50 comments in the span of 2 freaking minutes. Oh, no.
That Punk was
CM
ending the
Punk,
streak
no
a year
way.
before.
No way.
But they built
Never
up.
gonna
They did
happen.
build that up. They did build that up for a while, and it was kind of a back and forth kind of thing. And then I would have rather that happen than Brock Lesnar. I fucking hate Brock Lesnar.
Here's my issue with Brock Lesnar. He does
Yeah.
not appreciate. He doesn't appreciate the business.
And I apologize for my mouth, but
He never
when you
has.
stack up, when you stack up what Undertaker is to the business, and then you let lots of words, strings of words, I can't say on this broadcast at this moment, to allow him to break the streak. I just think that was disrespectful. Like, I felt like it was disrespectful. It was disrespectful to the Undertaker, and I think it was disrespectful to everybody that came before him. Because I think Brock Lesnar is a douchebag of epic proportion. I hate them. I hate him.
Tell us how you really feel, Nicole. No, I'm kidding.
Last expletives. I don't think I can do it.
Hey, Sean, can you hear us now?
No, it's okay. How many F-bombs have we dropped here? We've dropped 3 or 4. We got a couple more coming down the pike, and
I dropped 4
swear
at
jar,
least.
sitting up there in Canada. So
Maybe there should be a swear jar. Maybe I would be okay then.
Yeah, Willow's got one sitting in her kitchen right now.
Believe me, I have been tempted to bring out the swear jar on my show, but instead of the swear jar, it'd be, anytime that I put myself down.
I had to bring Greg's up.
My thing is, it'll be just me paying for it. It's not like anybody else on the show would swear. It's just me. And then it would be all my money going in the jar.
Yeah, see.
Oh, okay,
that's
so
the
Greg
thing.
agrees with me. All right.
The thing is, I don't think Vince would have let a WCW guy beat The Undertaker. I do think that there would have never been a winner to that match, though. I think it would have ended in a draw. That's the only way that I would have seen it.
No matches on WrestleMania can end with a draw. That's not how the business works.
You know what though? But for a lot of us, I think I would have been okay with a draw. It doesn't have to break the streak. It just has to show up in the ring.
Yeah, I think it would have been a run interference, and someone would attack both of them.
Who knows? It's the woulda, coulda, shoulda, because it's not gonna happen.
Goldberg match on Nitro.
If I can,
Goldberg.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
If I can throw in, you have to use the Vince McMahon thinking, which is, my God, pal, we can't have some guy from the South beat our #1 icon. Yeah, there would have been a run-in, but the run-in would have taken out Sting. Undertaker would have hit a tombstone. Streak continues. So, it would have been great to have had the Sting-Undertaker match, but it's much like the Hogan must pose attitude that continued into Randy Savage's title reign. Every pay-per-view must end with the Undertaker posing. For the longest time, if they had gotten Sting in, even if they had gotten Sting, the Undertaker's streak continues.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think Brock was the right guy?
Sorry.
He's trying to choose his words wisely.
Brock made more sense than Roman Reigns did. For the timing and everything, Brock made much more sense than Roman Reigns.
I'm slightly biased, though. I really hate Brock Lesnar, and I really like Roman Reigns. So I guess I should just shut my mouth.
Really? We couldn't tell.
I hate Brock Lesnar.
So
just hate him.
So Sean, we had talked online, and you know Mark from before the Undertaker days. So do you want to take us back a little ways on those early days of Mark Calaway?
Well, that's just it. You never knew him as Mark Calaway. He was the Punisher. He was the Master of Pain. I think his debut match, or one of his first matches in the old World Class territory, they put him in against Bruiser Brody as Texas Red. And shortly after that, Dutch Mantell had turned heel in the Memphis territory and brought in a henchman. And the first time you see this big, almost 7-foot-tall redhead walk into the Memphis TV studio, you're like, okay. okay, this is going to be impressive. And he was. He was still green as grass, but those first appearances of the Master of Pain, he was impressive, especially for a rookie. The gimmick was that he was an ex-con. So they would bring him out in what was supposed to look like what was left of his uniform from the Chain Gang. And he'd come in and he would just maul the job guys that he would put against him on TV. And the setup was to build for a monster to face Jerry Lawler. And that worked for a while. And then later on, he came back after a period as the Punisher in World Class wearing a mask. He came back to Memphis and they teamed him with tell me if this sounds familiar, an overweight manager.
Yeah, Percy Pringle.
But they didn't use Percy. They didn't use Percy in Memphis. They used a guy they had by the name of Ronnie P. Gossett. And one of the matches in '89 was, I believe it was one of the early casket matches that he was involved in, was a tag match where Lawler would be taking on, either it was Lawler or Dutch taking on the Master of Pain and a partner. And this partner, and this tells me all I need to know about who had the book at this point. A guy in a fight mask they called the Undertaker. So basically, the Master of Pain was teaming with the Undertaker for a casket match in Memphis in '89, and then a year later, basically a year later, he is in Memphis, or not in Memphis, he's around the world, but he's at the Survivor Series debuting as Kane, the Undertaker, which was, it was one of the first things that I think took a lot of people in this area out of, it's, I mean, that stuff in New York, that's fake. Around here, they mean it. Same with Atlanta. Well, he had gone to Atlanta. He had been part of the tag team with Danny Spivey when Sid got hurt. Now he goes to New York and he's in the big cartoon gimmick. But of all the big cartoony gimmicks, this one had something else to it. It's like you knew he wasn't a zombie. You knew he wasn't from Death Valley, especially the second he opened his mouth. But you had something there. Some people just have that it factor. If he didn't have the it factor, he would have been in and out faster than Giant Gonzalez.
Oh my God, there's a name.
Mark Calloway, he had something. Yeah. Mark Calloway, he had something. You could tell it in those early matches in Memphis. You could tell it when he went back to Dallas. You could even tell it when he was doing that brief run in WCW. Problem was, the people in WCW didn't see it.
Yeah, and when he was in WCW, he was in WCW with Triple H.
I don't know if Levesque was there yet or not, because this would have been '89. I was thinking that Terra Rising didn't start showing up on WCW Saturday Night until 91, 92.
I might have to look into that.
But yeah, it's like as good as some of the WWE documentaries are, I take everything with a grain of salt because I've been aware of the revisionist history since the mid '80s. So it's very possible the Terrorizing was a job guy for house shows in WCW Saturday Night in '89, but really he wasn't there that long because, like I said, he was in Memphis in '89 at the same time as Dustin Rhodes and a few other guys that went on to successful runs. Papa Shango / Godfather was actually, that was one of the guys that they were teaming the Master of Pain with in Memphis as the Soul Taker. So much like he had been kind of used as the big giant monster for Lawler to take on in Memphis, as soon as he came in 1990, he was being set up to be the big monster heel for Hogan to conquer, because they had run as far as they could with one-man gang, because that was around the time he was being turned into Akeem the African Dream. We had already had the run with the Big Boss Man. We'd had Kamala come through. There was not a lot of big men, big giants that Hogan could conquer when 1990 came around. And again, Hogan must pose. So you had that first meeting with Hogan and The Undertaker where, shock, Hogan loses the WWF title thanks to Ric Flair. And that set up the Tuesday in Texas experiment, where they had another pay-per-view just 2-3 days after one of their main pay-per-views. And they could do that on the strength of how big The Undertaker had gotten in a short amount of time.
This was about a year in his career, right? Just about a year?
Roughly, yeah. It was. I want to say it was SummerSlam that they had the match with Hogan and The Undertaker, and then the rematch was, like I said, like 2-3 days later on pay-per-view.
That just shows
they actually
how
did 2 pay-per-views within a 5-day period.
That just shows how much Vince had faith in this Undertaker character.
He had to start thinking about other guys, though. Like,
I'm not. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the thinking was with Tuesday in Texas. I'm not sure if it was a attempt to see how much turnaround they could do with pay-per-views. I'm not sure if it was okay, if we do a full price pay-per-view, then a cheaper pay-per-view, how that will go over. But fortunately, I had one of the big giant dishes with the secret chip that allowed me to see both of them. So, but yeah, it was it was an interesting experiment, and you'll note that it wasn't until the Jarretts launched TNA that we saw anyone else attempt to do weekly pay-per-views.
Right. Terry brings up, it was Tuesday in Texas. It was when Savage was bitten by Jake the Snake's.
Okay, so
snake.
It would have been about a year since his debut.
I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would have been Undertaker had been there a year. They put the belt on him for a few days, and they also. And here's the thing. Going back to what I was talking about with Sting and the Undertaker. The reason the Undertaker was able to tombstone Hogan and pin him was because Flair slid a chair into the ring, and that's what Hogan was tombstoned into. We did not get Hogan Flair on pay-per-view until WCW. Vince, as much as Vince may have liked Rick, he could not have the champion from the South, from Ted Turner's company, from the NWA, beat his champion, even though that's where the money was. I mean, they threw it out in a couple of different markets, but there was no buildup. There was no real buildup, other than Flair calling out Hogan on TV, and there was very little interaction. And then they would use those matches where they faced each other in the arenas to justify, no, it's not going to draw. No, it could have drawn if they were willing to build it and let the bad guy get something over on Hogan.
Yeah.
But that's
so this is right around the time that they started the Taker streak, which we already know it was the first match was Snuka, if I'm not mistaken, right? Jimmy Snuka was the very first one to fall to the streak. And it was before this, before it was called the streak.
Right.
But it was.
And what was that?
I was going to say, this is before everybody knew it was the streak. It was Jimmy Snuka.
Just it. Snuka. Right. And that made sense in the building of The Undertaker. You go back just 5-6 years earlier, Snuka was one of the biggest draws for Vince. Before Hogan, the big box office attraction for the WWF was Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Of course, Snuka had his issues, but he was still enough of a draw, still enough of an attraction. They would bring in, like, Sifi Afi, I believe, was one of the guys that they brought in, and they tried to promote them as Superfly, gave them the entrance music that they had been using for Snuka, and I think there's a Madison Square Garden card on the network where if you watch the crowd, they hear the music start for what they think is Snuka. And then the ring announcer goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, from the Samoan Islands, Superfly, Sifi Afi." And the crowd goes, "Yeah, what?" And it's almost like the first time they tried to do the fake Razor and Diesel. You
boy.
condition the audience for a certain response, and then what you give them is not what they're responding to
Right.
or what they think they're responding to. But it made sense because Snuka was still a huge name. And to make him a victim of The Undertaker on the biggest stage of the year, that sent a message that we're behind this guy. We're going to keep building him towards that match with Hogan.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who was the next to fall after Snuka the following WrestleMania.
Yeah, well, that's just it. The first few years of the streak, relatively forgettable. I don't think it was until I think Jake Roberts was in there because Jake was instrumental in turning him babyface because of the angle with Savage and Liz. But until they really built up the Undertaker's, until they started making a big deal about the streak, a lot of his matches at WrestleMania were not that memorable. By the time they did Undertaker Kamala, it wasn't that big a deal. Kamala was not the world beater who had body slammed Andre the Giant. So yeah, it was until the streak, until somebody in the office realized, the Undertaker's never lost at WrestleMania. Until that point, his matches were just, let's make sure Mark gets a payday, even if he's not figured into the main event.
Yeah.
At least that's what it seems like when you look back at some of the names.
Right. So I want to hop over to Ryan, and I want to ask him a question.
What was that?
I'm going to ask Ryan.
What's on your mind, Brian?
So with all of the feuds that Taker's had over the years, do you have a favorite that stands out to you? Would you say maybe the feud with Bret Hart, feud with Shawn Michaels?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't jump on the whole Taker bandwagon. If I had rank the pro wrestlers of the time I was watching it, would Taker be in the top 10? Probably. I just don't know where I would place him because I like Taker best when he came back after his injuries in the 2000s. When he came back as the American Badass, walking out to Kid Rock, and then it became Limp Bizkit's Rollin'. That's when Undertaker was awesome. To me, that's when it was at his peak. He comes out wearing the leather jacket. He wears a blue button-down shirt, pair of black pants, playing back glutes, riding on his motorcycle, having Kid Rock play throughout the course of the arena, runs down, mows over the McMahon-Helmsley faction, who I hated with a passion in the 2000s. I hated the McMahon-Helmsley faction. I hated him to pieces. But then when Undertaker made a big splash by coming back at Judgment Day, during the 60-minute Iron Man match between Rock and Hunter, comes on Raw the following night, because I didn't watch the pay-per-view back then. I didn't have any money. When Monday Night Raw comes in, Undertaker's roaming all of them down, kicking tail, taking names, and I'm loving this. It's like, finally, Rock's doing a good job of it, but sometimes even the most electrifying man in all of entertainment needs some help every now and then. So who comes out to help him? Undertaker, and then a few weeks later, his brother Kane comes out to help Rock out against McMahon-Helmsley faction. Then you get the six-man tag at King of the Ring in 2000. Another good matchup. But, as far as the feuds go, I can't really pick one. Probably when he came back, for me anyway, the second time in 2004 at WrestleMania 20, where it all begins again at Madison Square Garden when he went up against his brother Kane. Because apparently Kane thinks he killed his brother. Look, man, this is wrestling. You don't kill anybody. You don't kill anybody. You can say that, but you don't actually kill a wrestler like Undertaker. You just don't. Like when he said, "Oh, I killed you, I buried," I'm like, "What? Oh yeah, you had a buried alive match, but he didn't die. What are you, out of your mind?" Granted, that's just the writing, but when Taker came back and Paul Bearer, I mean, I thought Paul Bearer was done, but then he comes flying through the curtain, walking down the aisle in 2004. I'm like, dang, man, I didn't know you were still rocking this thing. I had no idea. But then his entrance comes in. He comes into the ring, kicks Kane's ass, removes his hat, takes off the jacket. At least he still had a little bit of the American Badass in him, even though he rebooted himself as old school Undertaker wearing the hat and the robe, even though the black jacket it's American Badass. It's trademark Taker. I'm sorry. But it is. But at least you were still wearing similar tights, though, when you battled up a Kane. But yeah, probably the battle between him and Kane was kind of a nice little feud, even though it only lasted 2 minutes because he thought he killed his brother. Yeah, right. You don't kill anybody. Jeez. Anyway. Yeah, American Badass is my answer, Brian.
I think the build-up for the Kane feud was probably some of the best stuff, even though it was probably the most cartoony. Also, I think the low point was probably Brian Lee at the Undertaker. And I hate to step away on that note. Wow, that was bad. But I'm still having some connection issues. But I appreciate you guys having me in to kind of talk about the Deadman, at least, and try to get a little memory of the early years.
Well, I appreciate it, Sean, and we'll get you back on because I know you have a lot of stuff to talk about. So I'll have you back on in the future.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah, and it's funny that he had brought up that Brian Lee did the fake Undertaker back in '94 when they had Undertaker versus Undertaker at SummerSlam.
That sounds cartoony within itself.
Oh man,
I mean, I wasn't around to watch wrestling back then, but if I saw that storyline on paper, I'd be like, "What? This isn't the movie Multiplicity. You can't have four Undertakers walking around. That's Michael Keaton's job."
Yeah, it was very cartoony because like Undertaker had, I believe he had broken his not just his nose, but like this whole, I don't know, what do you call this part here? The bone that's like right here. He had fractured it, so he was out of action for a long time, and so like Paul Bearer said, that the Undertaker was back and people were seeing sightings of Undertaker, but it was Brian Lee as the Undertaker.
I don't remember.
Yeah, this was probably before you were watching.
Me.
But it was interesting to see Undertaker versus Undertaker, and we could all tell who the real Undertaker was because the real Undertaker was a bit taller and bigger, of course. Mark Calloway is 6'10", 315-20 pounds, and Brian Lee wasn't that big.
And they tried to pull that same stunt in the other company that I watched growing up, WCW, with the fake stings coming out every Monday night.
Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, Brian, we know it got old really fast. We know.
But what about the feud that Undertaker had with Mick Foley, a.k.a. Mankind, a.k.a. Dude Love, a.k.a. Cactus Jack?
Yeah, he's been like 30 different characters. Like I said, I didn't come into wrestling until '99, but I wish I would have watched wrestling a little bit sooner so I could have seen some of those key matches on Monday Night Raws, and then when SmackDown was first coming out, and then obviously the pay-per-views, like people were talking about it. And if I saw highlight reels of the Hell in the Cell match between Mick Foley and Taker, when people's jaws were on the floor for literally the entirety of that match, if I'm thinking of it right. Yeah, that was something else, man. When you throw a guy off of 30-40 foot cage and JR says that killed him. Yeah, someone could actually end up dead, and I prefer people to stay alive after their matches. So When he flies off the cage, I'm thinking, is Mick Foley really dead right now? If I were a kid and saw that back then, I would have thought he was actually dead, even though he wasn't.
Well, before you answer this question, I do have to say that they actually thought Mick Foley the second time when he went through the cage, Taker thought he was dead. Like he actually thought he was dead.
That is my favorite Taker match, and probably because it was the first time that I watched, and it was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I really was shocked, and I didn't understand. Like, I was like, is that real? Because I had heard about accidents that happened in the ring during pay-per-views, and I had heard about people getting hurt, but I never saw that match. Like, I never saw that pay-per-view. I'd never seen anything leading up to that. And so when it happened, and I'm like, my fiance at the time, you know, he's the one that I ended up being, a wrestling fan for. I was like, what the hell just happened? He's like, everything's fine. This is a Mick Foley thing. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, please don't kill my Mick Foley. Like, I love Mick Foley. But
everybody does.
What happened?
Throwing him off a 30-foot cage. Like, is that even legal in wrestling? Can you even legally do that? Throw someone off a 40-foot cage? I don't think so. But hey, Vince is like, make it a great match, fellas. I don't care if you end up dead.
Well, I don't think it was supposed to.
No, it wasn't planned. Like when Taker had threw Mick Foley off of the top onto the announcer's table, apparently up there, Mick Foley said, "Throw me off. It will be great."
Which is nuts. It's nuts. But Mick Foley.
How do you respond to somebody?
I was just going to say, Mick Foley
throw me off of here.
And if I remember,
it'll make the crowd really smile at the end of the night. Be like, "Wow, that was great! Someone almost died."
And Taker, he, being the businessman that he is, he knew, he was like, first of all, what the fuck?
Did he hesitate at first when Mick Foley whispered in his ear, "Throw me off the cage"?
He did, but as he knows that at this time, they had this audience and the match is like, people are into it. He knew the business side of things, that it would pay off, but the real man didn't want to do it. But we all know how it went, and that's one of the greatest, not Undertaker matches of all time, but one of the greatest matches of all time.
A lot of people have said that. Yeah. It's on a lot of people's top 5, top 10 lists.
But I would like to go back to the very first Hell in a Cell, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, which we were getting a Hell in a Cell that people were like, "What the hell is a Hell in a Cell?" Like, no, not even the guys in the business were like, I guess someone had brought it up, and Vince is like, "I think we should call this match a Hell in a Cell match." Because we've seen steel cage matches for decades, and so they wanted to do something new. They were like, "Well," Vince is like, "Well, how about we take the cage and completely surround the ring?" And so nobody knew how that was going to go off. But that same night, we got the debut of Kane, Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah.
And that's a story in itself. He almost didn't make it to his debut as well.
Yeah, I heard that story. That was really it's really interesting. Yeah, you get a big match that night with two of the biggest stars in the business at that time, and then Kane shows up out of nowhere. It's like, oh, there's another guy who can be 7 foot tall and weigh 330 pounds, and who can go toe to toe with Undertaker. This is about, as the announcers like to say in the business, Brian, business is about to pick up.
Yeah, and seeing Kane, Paul Bearer was like, "Kane, he's here," and Kane ripping the door off. That was just crazy.
Yeah, it didn't bother him at all. It's like, no, I can rip this door off. It's no problem. I'm wearing a red suit. No problem. Yeah, take off the door, jump in the ring, look in Taker's face, and say, "I'm coming for you, man." So he didn't say it, though, because Kane's wearing a mask, so he can't say anything under that mask. But he looks deep into his eyes like, "Yeah, we got a rivalry brewing here, ladies and gentlemen."
Yeah, and I remember when the camera had panned in just on him as he was ripping the door, and then he got into the ring, and it was the wide shot of Kane and going like this, and then like the fire coming up, and like you could see because Shawn Michaels was beaten on the side, and you could see the camera kind of panning on his face, and he was like freaked out. He's like, "Who is this guy?" And then Taker had this look, was like he knew it was Kane, and he got in the ring and had that stare down. And of course, Kane did the whole tombstone on Taker. And while this was happening, of course, Shawn Michaels, got the victory and walked away with the championship. But that was a pretty decent match, I thought. Like up to Kane coming, it was a decent match.
Seen
Do you
highlights
remember
of
that
it.
match? Yeah, this was let's see, when was this match? 97, I believe.
Was it 97?
Yeah.
I think the first one was 97, and then the Hell in the Cell between McFoley and Taker was 98, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
98. All right. See, I'm learning a couple new things on this show. Yeah. My education is growing.
Yeah.
Still got a lot to learn, but hey, we all do.
I'm slightly distracted by the comments.
I know.
I know.
I'm
I
trying
gotta
to keep
tell
them
you.
at bay here, guys. I'm so sorry for this.
No, it's cool. I just see these comments in the chat room in the backstage area, as we say at pro wrestling shows. I do a thing or two. I'm seeing these peeps talk in the back, and I'm thinking, what are they talking about? Have they had too much coffee, or they put something in the water on YouTube? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yeah. So yeah, what other moments did you want to discuss, Brian? Any other big matches? Because I know what my favorite moment of The Undertaker was, which I already kind of described earlier, but still, I digress.
Well, there's a WrestleMania, WrestleMania 13, where we see The Undertaker winning the WWF Championship.
Oh, that's right.
That was a good moment in his history, because that just put another level,
another feather in his cap, as it were.
Exactly, and his character had elevated then. That was also the same night that we saw what you would call the double turn. It was Bret Hart versus Steve Austin.
Yeah, that shirt you were wearing, that ought to give you a clue.
Yeah, that was the night that Steve Austin did not tap out to the sharpshooter. He passed out, and his face was covered in blood. Because this was at the time that Bret Hart was kind of about to leave the company and go to your favorite company, WCW.
For a couple of minutes it was, and then once the McMahon-Helmsley era started, then I was like, oh, this is getting really good. I want to tune into this.
Someone did bring up the Ministry. Ryan, you said you liked that era of The Undertaker?
No, I think that was someone in the chat. Maybe Terry said it, because Terry. He likes to say a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two about wrestling, Terry. We love you, buddy. He was saying that he liked the Ministry of Darkness. Like I said, I didn't come into this whole thing until 99, 2000 when it came to the WWF at the time. So I caught the tail end of the Ministry of Darkness, and Undertaker had an injury. He had to leave the company for a while, and then the match it was supposed to be a triple threat between Austin, Helmsley, and who was it? Was it Austin, Helmsley, and Kane, or whatever it was? And then Austin got run over by Rikishi in the back.
I did it for The Rock.
Yeah, that's when I started watching the WWF at the time. So I missed the Mystery of Darkness, but I've seen highlight reels of it, and I got to tell you, man, is it creepy! Ugh. And Brian and Nicole were so creeped out by the Ministry of Darkness comment that Ryan made that they had to leave the arena. I'm sorry, folks, but Willow, as we hopefully they'll come back. Don't you just love live shows in the middle of a Saturday? Willow, what are your thoughts on that whole Ministry of Darkness storyline? Were you a fan of that, or do you think they should have tossed that into the garbage?
What? I want to apologize. I really don't remember much from that due to moving around and changing foster homes. But
sure.
But what I do remember from being from
What happened?
There you
I
go.
don't know what happened.
Hi.
Hey, I'm like, what, did I say something illegal? Did I say something wrong? Are we about to get sued? Is Mark Calloway coming to my house right now? Like, what's going on?
Nicole was typing and she hit something and she doesn't know what she hit.
Oh, whoops.
Be very careful when you're handling electronic devices, specifically keyboards.
Okay, but that's why we don't respond to people in the comments.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Hey.
So all of this
Sorry.
over here on the side that's happening that I can watch.
Well, the problem
okay.
is, like, we can't respond through StreamYard to any of the people in the chat. That's why I've been interacting with people strictly on YouTube here.
Yeah, it's fine.
But I don't know. StreamYard's very weird where you can... it looks like you can interact with people, but your comments aren't being shown.
Yeah.
There you go.
And by bringing them up, I'm not going to bring them up if I don't understand what you're saying. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Well,
to
I
me,
think
whatever language
the
that
comment
is, it
section's
looks like
talking
lots of letters.
gibberish. Yeah, it's okay. They're talking gibberish. But we were talking about the Ministry of Darkness, Brian. I didn't come into this till later, but yeah, Ministry of Darkness is creepy crawly stuff. Why? Were you a fan of this so much that you bought the T-shirts and you put those tattoos on your forehead like Midian?
No.
Okay, because I was gonna say if something went wrong with you, I would have been like, "Hey, what's going down?"
I do remember when they took Stephanie McMahon and they sacrificed her on Monday Night Raw.
Oh,
yeah.
So
I didn't
creepy.
mind that,
So
actually.
creepy. That is so weird. No wonder the parents' rights groups were filing lawsuits against Vince McMahon.
I do have to say though, Stephanie, in her this was before she dressed all sexy and stuff. She still looks pretty good.
Dude, she was wearing purple shirts and black pants when she was on Raw back in the heyday. All right,
Well, this was when she was
jacket in Armageddon.
Well, this was when she was, Vince's little girl. So she was dressing,
Vince's innocent daughter.
Yeah, and so they had her up on the ministry cross, and they had
she had a black dress on. Anybody remember the black dress? Does anyone remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Brian's like, I want to forget, Ryan. Why did you bring it up? How dare you?
Well, I remembered when Triple H did the pedigree to Stephanie on the announcers table, but that's for After Dark episodes. But anyways.
Yeah, baby. After Dark, reveals and heels, uncensored. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not talk about
I'll be happy to be
Midian.
your first guest on that show, Brian.
Hey, Ryan, here we go.
No, it's Terry. I'm sorry, man, but when I was watching the company back in the '90s, that was one of the first characters I saw was some remnants of the Ministry of Darkness, including Midian, Viscera, a couple of the other guys who were rolling in the back. So yeah, sorry, Terry. I didn't mean to give you bad memories / nightmares. Sorry.
So, since you like the American Badass, did you like the Limp Bizkit entrance theme more than the Kid Rock entrance theme?
Ooh, Brian, that's a $5,000 billion question, and Willow's gonna kill me for this if I answer this wrong.
Hey, it's your opinion.
Look, here's the thing. When he showed up out of nowhere, I mean, they've been teasing it for weeks on Monday Night Raw with the Titantron going dark and the little girls are playing, and you got it's kind of like a Freddy Krueger kind of moment where they're looking at the camera and they're like, was it? Are you scared? He's here. All that creepy stuff was going on the Titantron. I was like, what is this? What's the deal? And then Kid Rock comes on and Undertaker rolls out in his motorcycle. I'm like, oh, well done, good sir. Well done. Between the two entrances, though. Oh, man, this is so hard. But I probably go slight edge. I give it to Kid Rock. Because you knew that it was going to be a horrible night for you, that your night is going to be ruined, you're not going to win any matches, you're not going to win any belts, you're not going to be able to go home and get the prom queen, as the late, great Sean Connery likes to tell us. So ever so slightly, Brian, I'm going to give it to Kid Rock, even though I like Limp Bizkit's theme a bit more, but for its time, Kid Rock was just slightly the better of the two.
Yeah, I do like the Kid Rock version, but I do like the Limp Bizkit version. It's like one one A and one B, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like the same chorus every couple of seconds.
I do remember when Limp Bizkit was there live and the Undertaker came out.
Yeah, that was WrestleMania 19. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good entrance.
That was a great entrance,
And speaking
actually.
of like entrances, the Undertaker is a character that has evolved, and his entrance, like some of the best entrances of any wrestler. You know, I remember when all the druids were lined up with the torches, and he came out. And then, of course, when he came out to the Johnny Cash theme, I mean, do you have any like special entrance memories of the Undertaker that stands out to you? I mean, I know you said you like the motorcycle American Badass, but like when they had like those special entrances, is there one that stands out to you?
I mean, can't really think. I mean, the WrestleMania one's probably my favorite, just because they paid tribute to what, you know, with the Limp Bizkit theme. Even though he had a new theme at that point, but when they brought Limp Bizkit back just for that night, that was probably my favorite entrance. But you know, that's what I would say. But enough about me. I've been jibber jabbering for 2 straight hours. Willow, do you have any opinions on this matter?
I just want to know what you guys, what look of the Undertaker through the years did you guys enjoy more? I know he started off with like beautiful red hair, and then it went slowly to like the hat and dark black hair to really short.
And well, if you look at the, you know, when he first came, he had like no tattoos at all. And then over the years, he started getting tattoos.
That's right.
Yeah, and then, you know, when he first came, he had the gray gloves, and then he went to the purple gloves
and the black one. Yeah. He even had his ex-wife's name tattooed on his neck at one point. Sarah.
Yeah. Well, we won't go into what happened there, but
I don't even know what happened between the two of them. You and I are gonna have to talk off camera, and you're gonna have to fill me in, Brian, because I have no idea what happened between those two.
Well, I'll tell you.
Full black, like the hat, the long hair, the, you know, almost like the cowboy look, with the duster, and I prefer that look over anything else. The biker look towards the end, not so much.
Yeah. What about you? What is your favorite look of the Taker throughout the years?
Favorite outfit?
I don't know. I kind of liked the fact that when he imagined himself, maybe not the American Badass, but like right after that, like it was still the Undertaker, but not, you know, it was like still the American Badass, but also
it was a combination of the two. He was rebooting his original character while paying respects to the American Badass thing. So yeah, that makes sense.
Well, would you call that the American Deadman?
Oh, Brian, why did you do that? Oh, in the words of oh God, why am I blanking on his name? Not Joey. Who's the other guy? Ross. In the words of Ross, why would you do that? It's just, you know. Sorry, that's a Friends reference for those of you who may not be familiar with 90s sitcoms. It's all right, it happens. But yeah, the American Deadman. I don't. Did Vince? I mean, you know, if you want to copyright that, Brian, and make it into a T-shirt, make $2 million off of it, that's fine. But, I digress. Boy, the kids are having a lot of fun in that playground. Man,
they're obnoxious today.
Man, what's the deal? Someone put something in the water back there?
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It happened while I was gone. It wasn't me.
Oh, so it was before that. All right. Well, Terry says that his favorite look of The Undertaker was when he was on his... Oh, Terry, why would you say that? Why would you say that, Terry? Favorite look was when Taker was on his back after Brock Lesnar defeated the Streak. Get out of here, bud.
I don't know. I can't say that I don't like Terry because we have a difference of opinion. That would be against everything I said about the election. However, right now,
we love Terry. Terry, you're in the doghouse, according to Nicole. Terry's in the doghouse. Sorry, Terry. That's just one of those things. Oh boy. What was everybody's favorite theme music of The Undertaker? Did we like the original organ playing in 1990? Did we like the little updated version from 98? Did we like the Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, or even the remix of his original theme when he came back in 2004 with Paul Bearer as his manager?
You know what? I kind of enjoyed the time with his manager. You know, like that theme song. Anytime that you hear it, it's like, yeah, Undertaker's
the
here.
organ was playing.
Yeah.
The organ.
I like the what they did with, they took the original and then they added like an orchestra to it.
Yeah.
So this was between his debut and between the time that he started the corporate ministry.
Oh boy.
So they added like an orchestra to the background to it.
Yeah.
The violins and stuff. I mean, when you hear the gong, I mean, that's what's iconic. Like, you know, shit's about to go down.
I'm pretty sure I don't
your night's
listen. Like
about to be ruined.
once I hear the gong, I don't think I listen. It's like the same as when the glass breaks. I just don't hear it anymore. Like I'm anticipating whatever is going to happen next, so I'm not really paying attention to the music anymore.
Let me see. It's understandable. But yeah, he's come out with everything. He's come out with an urn. He came out with a black bird at WrestleMania one year, and
yes, that was WrestleMania 9 in Las Vegas.
That's right.
Where he came out with the bird at Caesar's Palace.
Brian would know.
With the bird. Yeah.
Yep. And now that we were talking about theme music, I think we should do an episode next year about theme music.
Oh,
yeah.
You mean
Best
best pro wrestler theme songs from Titantron?
Yeah.
Oh,
we're gonna have to create a theme song playlist.
Should we, Willow? Should we do that?
Dude, there's so many great themes that are running through my head right now. I can name like 50.
My time. Are you ready? Think you can tell us what to do?
But that's
are
for
some of the theme songs that come
2021.
to my
We're talking
mind.
about the Undertaker right now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I
Undertaker
think
has good themes too. They're gonna make the top 10 list. Don't worry, Undertaker. I know you're watching this at home, but don't worry, your theme's gonna make it.
Oh my gosh.
Just depends on which one.
I don't know what
You've
just
had like
happened.
5 themes over 30 years.
So there's something I want to ask everyone here.
I'm nervous.
I
Very nervous.
know, Ryan, you don't have a big enough knowledge or background of Undertaker's history as say I do. But what do you think the Undertaker has meant to the business?
Ooh.
And when I mean the business, I mean not just us as we're watching, but like just to the business as a whole. So like when you're having other promotions look at this guy's like, you know, what does he mean to the business or his men?
In the words of my second cousin once removed, Marty McFly, whoa, this is heavy. Man, I'm gonna have to think on this one. Willow, you want to start this one first as I gather what little thoughts I have left because it's so late and I'm tired on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, what the Undertaker meant to me as an entertainer was, you know, lots of memories. You can't just say the WWE without envisioning all the matches between the Undertaker and all the people that he's fought with, and you know. He will always be one of those characters that will stick with you. And from the moment that he walked on the stage for the first time, and we're all gonna bawl when he walks on the stage for the last time. And I don't know, it just even though he's probably gonna stay somewhat behind the scenes when it comes to wrestling, we're there will always be that moment where it's like we will always pine for him to return to wrestling, to be a wrestler. But I know it's hard. Like, it's hard to say goodbye to your favorite wrestlers when they decide to retire. And he's definitely going to be one of those where it's like remembering 30 years from now, you know, there will be that tear in your eye.
Yeah. On the latest episode of Hot Ones, which just premiered on Thursday, Undertaker was the guest, which I actually did have a chance to watch it. It was really, really good. He had 2 glasses of milk, didn't touch them at all. He went through all 10 sauces. And of course, Sean Evans had asked, you know, he's like, I know you're a Texas boy, so you like heat. And he, you know, being from Texas, he says, I do like spicy, but he also likes flavor. So he likes when things are hot but has flavor, not that they're gonna just burn you and have no flavor. So he was talking about, you know, when he was growing up, that they would have, you know, Texas broil, which has like crawdads, and it's like it's like Louisiana gumbo almost. And he was talking about tomorrow night, where he's going to be at Survivor Series doing his final like I think it's going to be a speech that he may have a hard time getting through. But what I think he has meant to the business is, I will tell you a match that kind of encompassed what he means to the business. He had a match on Monday Night Raw against Jeff Hardy for the WWF Championship.
Yes, one of the greatest of all time.
And this is actually one of my favorite matches of all time. In this match,
right there with you.
Undertaker, like I said, never breaks character. But in this match, at the end, he did break character.
He raised his hand.
And he did. He came out years later, and Jeff Hardy came out years later, because they kind of kept it to himself what Taker said to him in the ring. And basically, Taker said that you got it, kid. And that's what makes Taker a locker room leader and a ring general.
I think that it's not. I don't think anybody really understood what Taker meant to the business until he did break character, and they did this. What is it? 5 parts or 4 parts?
5 parts.
The last ride, and I think that when you start listening to these guys talk about how important it was for them to get the nod from him, like
when you were hearing like all these peers, like you hear like people like Triple H, Randy Orton, Ric Flair,
Jeff Hardy, like when they sit and talk about what that meant to them, and you realize it's like, well, you know, there's that quality of a leader that means that you bring everybody up with you, like you're responsible for the next generation, for them to learn and to take care of the business the way you care for the business. And I think that I think until we heard that, like until we really heard him say that, where, you know, Randy Orton is talking about screwing up in the ring and being so upset, and then, you know,
he got his receipt.
You know, he was like, your receipt is coming, and he's like, oh shit, you know, like this was the moment where he's like, you'll learn.
I think,
you know,
Ryan,
like,
I
take
think
your
Ryan
bumps
is trying. Do you know what a receipt?
Understand.
What you know what it means in term receipt in pro wrestling?
Yeah, I think I think like you make a mistake, the guy who made it is going to get a receipt for, which means the other wrestler is going to, like, you know, teach him a lesson, like to not do that again, something like that.
Pretty much.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know all of it, but I've heard the term thrown around once or twice in my day.
I think it's important for people to learn from their mistakes, but I think it's important that a person that's well respected to be the person that gives it, you know, to be the person that allows them to understand what that meant. You know, like, you know, I think I cried the when I watched that Jeff Hardy match. Like, I think I cried at the end of it because I was like, and I mean, rightfully so, because
it was a great story.
Jeff Hardy is one of my favorite wrestlers, you know, like, he's one of my favorite. And so at the end of the day, you know, you're watching it and you're like, you just got like the highest commendation in wrestling when you're, you know, Undertaker broke character for you in the middle of the ring. It wasn't even in the locker room. It was like, it was out there and it was very public. It was there for people to see. And I think I cried.
Yeah, when you think of WWE,
I get choked up for weird stuff.
You think of Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is the top guy, and I know there's a whole bunch of other top guys under Vince, but the next guy you think of is Undertaker. That's basically, it's like Vince McMahon, Undertaker. When you think of locker room politics and leadership and all that.
I'm sure there's people that they want to get the nod from, but I don't think it means as much until it comes from the Undertaker.
Right. Like, one of the stories is there's this thing called Wrestler Court, and Undertaker was the judge. Yeah, it was wrestlers.
I mean,
yeah,
you know.
So like when you had two guys, you know, and this isn't a gimmick thing. This wasn't like an on-screen thing. This was a backstage thing where you had guys, you know, who were messing up or whatever, or arguing or whatever. Undertaker was like, they would hold like a court. Like JBL was involved in this and stuff. It was like, you know, Taker would be like, you guys need to take care of this and we need to, you know, fix this. And so like they would have like the locker room court set up and he was the judge. He was that kind of leader in the locker room that a lot of the younger talent.
Executioner.
And
I mean, the guy, you know, it's his yard, Brian. We're we're in his yard, and if we do something wrong, he'll make us famous. So
yeah. Well, up until his passing, it was Taker and Yokozuna were the two leaders of the locker room, because they were really close friends. You know, because Yokozuna, who wasn't really Japanese, he was Samoan. He's part of The Rock's family.
Right.
Yeah.
I believe he's like The Rock's cousin.
Isn't everybody The Rock's cousin nowadays?
If you're Samoan, yeah.
Unless you're
Samoan, man, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Unless you're Samoan Joe.
Yeah,
is he even Samoan?
Yeah, Samoan.
He is Samoan.
Yeah.
Even though they call him Samoan Joe.
It makes me laugh though, like when we talk about any profession, like I think anything that people take seriously, you want to help the people that are coming up. So I sat and watched all 5 parts of that, and I think those last 2 parts when the guys started talking about what it meant for them,
especially AJ Styles, who was only in the company from 2016, but he knew who the Undertaker was because he's been wrestling 18 years. Yeah. So and for Undertaker to handpick AJ Styles to be the last guy says a lot about what Undertaker thinks of AJ Styles. Because to me, I'm going to say it right now, AJ Styles is the best wrestler, hands down. He truly is phenomenal. And what they did at WrestleMania this year, under the circumstances, I thought the Boneyard match was awesome.
I think that match gave everybody an opportunity to look really good. Like, I felt like, you know, when in other matches that had led up to that, where, you know, Taker had mentioned in the other parts of the documentary that he wasn't happy with those matches and he wasn't happy with his performance in those matches, it gave him an opportunity to really look good and to solidify that. Like,
and then of course have a match with Metallica playing in the background.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, Metallica? I don't know that. No, I'm kidding. That was my poor attempt at humor. It's late, guys. My brain's mush.
I'm trying to shake off. 2:30. I'm trying to shake
Willow,
off
it's late.
all the ridiculousness in the comments. So like I'm really kind of like annoyed by that.
I don't see any more ridiculousness on my screen. It looks fine now.
They decided to take off. Thank God.
They left. What's the expression? You exit stage left, and don't let the door hit you on the way out. But yeah, to answer your question, Brian, what does the Undertaker mean to the business for me? I'll tell you what. When I think of ring generals, he's one of the first names that pops into my head automatically. Because the guy's doing it for over 3 decades and change. All right. So when I think of that, Undertaker, there's never going to be another one. There's never going to be a character like that. There's never going to be someone who's going to have unique entrances, unique entrance music such as that, whether it be from the beginning stages of his career to the middle part of his career or to Act 3, in this case towards the end of his respective career. But, yeah, you know what? And Mark, if you're watching this, one of the greatest, great wrestler, great technician, great guy, likes to, he knows what you're doing. You're a great ring general. You know how to handle things backstage as well as in the ring. Your match between yourself and Jeff Hardy, certainly one of the greatest of all time. I was on the edge of my freaking seat that night when Raw went down. I wanted Jeff Hardy to win that title so bad I can taste it. Because he's a young kid. He needs a belt. He deserves that belt, son. But, hey, Undertaker, you were on a hot streak at the time. You were the bad guy Undertaker at that point. You wanted to retain your undisputed World Heavyweight title. I get it. Still would have wanted Jeff to win, though. But at the end, when you grab him by the arm, raise his arm up and say, "Hey, man, it was a great match. You killed it. You were great. You're the next big thing," not Brock Lesnar. That was a great moment. Sorry, Nicole. That was a great moment. There's no question. So, Undertaker, congratulations on 30 plus years of destruction, as you would like to say. Wish you the best of luck in your retirement years. If you want to keep doing stuff behind the scenes, which you're probably going to end up doing anyway, because the fans and the people who work backstage love you too much to let you slip through the cracks. So, Undertaker, congratulations. Wish you the best. And hey, there's never going to be another one, and there's never going to be another American badass who comes out to either Limp Bizkit or Kid Rock. Because those are the only 2 reasons why I listen to those songs is because of you. So, good on you, Undertaker. You're the man. Anyway, back to you with the desk, Brian.
All right. So, under or over 50% that Undertaker does something with NXT similar to what Shawn Michaels is doing.
What do you mean, like being a mentor or a guy who runs things backstage kind of thing?
Like a trainer.
Oh, it's a trainer.
You know what? I can totally see him becoming a trainer.
I can see it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I can see him taking on a couple of the newbies under his arm, so to speak.
New superstars under his arm, Willow. I think you can take them under his wing. That's the professional sentence to use, Willow.
I think it's probably over 50%. Now, the only thing that I think would be different than that is if he really did want to raise his kids and be there 24/7.
Be there with them and Michelle.
I kind of feel like once it's in your blood, you don't go away. Like there's always something that you're being involved with it in some way, shape, or form. Like
Ric Flair.
I mean, well,
isn't Ric Flair like 160 years old?
How about we go like the route of Stone Cold or The Rock, where they're still there. They're still talking about it, but I guess maybe more along the lines of Stone Cold, because he has a podcast and he is he does do things that are related to wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So
you say those 3 names, Taker, Rock, and Stone Cold are 3 guys that they could go away for 10, 15 years and they can come back on a Monday Night Raw unannounced and the crowd would go crazy.
Still pop.
I mean, when his quick sidebar, Your Honor. When The Rock came back to be the host of WrestleMania in the year 2011 on Monday Night Raw, and the guy's like, "You're host of WrestleMania 27," and then he just stands there, and then the whole arena goes dark for about 1 minute and 15, and then his music hits, the building exploded, and I wish I could have teleported like the Rangers do on Mighty Morphin to be in the arena that night. I
remember
that mayhem, because I would have lost my ever-loving mind.
I remember that Raw because the car pulled out and you see the door open, but they only show the feet. and so like
Yeah.
you don't know who it is.
I didn't see
It
that part
was
of the
really.
I was actually hoping. I was like, come on, this is WWE. They're gonna let us down. It's gonna be like some like B celebrity or something like that. And then The Rock's music hits, and then like I thought I saw the roof blow up.
And
I think it did.
I live for moments like that where the pop is so loud. It's like all you hear is the reverberation and the feedback from everything because it is so loud and amazing.
Because that's what happened in January this year in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh my God! Like, and it's there's been a lot of them where I was like, damn, I wish I was there. When the Hardys came
in 2011. Oh man.
That because I was at their thing that day. Like I was at their barbecue backyard, whatever the hell thing it was called. But I was there and I was like, oh my God, I was so excited because I was totally geeking out at the fact that I was standing next to Jeff Hardy. But anyways,
you got hugged from the Hardys. Hey,
I hugged the Hardys.
The Hardys hugged
okay,
you.
that makes me a little jello of you right now, Nicole. To be perfectly honest, but
and
Please tell me you did not wash that shirt since you.
I did wash the shirt, but it's forever immortalized in the fact that it is in the picture that and I have it in the drawer. But
Team Extreme.
But it was funny because I felt kind of bad because I was like, I'm only paying to be in the picture with Jeff, so I was like, well, I'm sorry, Matt, but see you later, bye. And
but Matt came over and gave you a hug.
It was hilarious. They came over and they talked to us because the boys were there, and I said, well, this is our next generation of backyard wrestlers. And Jeff Hardy's like, that's the coolest thing ever. I'm like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? Like, this is not cool. Like,
yes, this is where Willow and I wish we knew you back then, and then we could all travel down together and go to WrestleMania. That would have been fun.
Oh, it would have been so amazing. It was so amazing. And then when we got home and we're watching the show, and I'm like, yeah, it was
Willow would have gotten a great taste of what a pay-per-view extravaganza WrestleMania is all about.
Okay, so I'm gonna just a little sidetrack. She earlier, when I was talking about this is episode 34, and I was joking. I knew we were gonna keep going with the podcast.
Oh,
so I'm gonna lay it out here.
It's hilarious. He's like, I knew we were going to anyways.
We're gonna get together and we're gonna go to a wrestling event. All of us.
When life gets back to
normal. Yeah, when life gets back to normal, and Willow can actually fly out of Manitoba.
Yeah, when the code red is done and our borders are open.
Get a one-way ticket. Yeah, or excuse me, round trip. Excuse me. You want to come back to Manitoba?
We'll send her back whenever.
Hey, Willow.
We'll give you a one-way ticket, and then we'll buy you a one-way ticket back home later.
Willow, I wanted to know, since you're in the studio as well, I want to do it. I know it's not our show, but can you play your intro on our show, please?
Is that a possibility?
Sure.
If you can pull it up.
Well, yeah, we probably should give her a little airtime because
she got creative. I saw this and I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome.
I was working.
I do on my when I should be working, but I did this while I was on break. Don't worry, I wouldn't just do it. Okay.
Anticipation. Right. 2 minutes later. Sorry. Hey, they teach us in broadcasting school, no dead air. So I'm trying to liven up the party here,
All right.
Exactly, because I was like, oh
Titantron?
No.
Uh-oh.
Can we hear it? I don't know if we can hear it.
No.
We can't hear it, Willow.
There's no audio.
No? Oh, shit.
We can see it. We just can't hear it.
Haha, it wasn't me.
Stop that. Okay, it must be StreamYard doing funny things.
All right, marker. All right, let's do this again. All right, Willow's intro on the Reels and Heels show in the middle of a Saturday afternoon. Take 2. All right.
Oh, man.
Let's see if I can...
Don't worry, Brian. Hey, Brian, if you want to get me something for Christmas, get me one of those clapper things from...
oh, yeah.
Send him a clapper.
I know to get one. They sell them at Universal Studios City Walk.
Oh, okay.
Boom,
'cause,
baby.
Yeah, we'll be going there sometime.
Hey, Brian, I'll take one. Just get what do they call it? I think it's called a slab, isn't it? Isn't the technical term a slab?
I think so, yeah.
Hey, I know what to get you for Christmas. I can get you
slab.
the WWE Network for $9.99.
Yeah, get me the slab from on they use on movie sets, and then what was that other thing? Oh yeah, the Godzilla Showa era films from Criterion.
Oh yeah.
Because I've never seen those Godzilla movies, Brian.
Yeah, we gotta get you on.
Okay.
It's on sale for
It's
50% off
loading
until November 30th. It is. It's 50% off. I'm not kidding you.
Are we doing a
Wish
HWWS
list?
Secret Santa, like a Secret Santa gift exchange?
I don't know.
Oh.
Are
That
we?
would be awesome. Okay, let's bring
That
that,
would
to
be
the
fun.
meeting tonight.
Hey, Willow, do you want
Let's
to bring that to the
up.
meeting we have tonight in
Remind-
the backstage area?
Absolutely.
Are we? No, I thought we.
Loading.
We are having a meeting, right?
Yeah, 6
It
o'clock.
is.
Yeah.
What?
It's
Yeah.
today.
Well, then we can't go to the grocery store,
Oh, we can't go to the grocery store. You have to wait till tomorrow.
can we?
All right.
Can I?
So
By the way,
here-
Or are
Willow,
you just
I'm
going to join the
grocery
meeting
tomorrow.
on your phone?
I can.
Anyways, I'm sorry. That was
I'm going grocery
It's
shopping
okay.
tomorrow.
totally unrelated.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's
How about
the
that intro, Willow?
Yay!
Mark?
From the Hanging with Web Show TV's Bargain Basement Studio in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, it's Pillow Talk with Willow Schuyler.
Will you take me to Winnipeg?
I will someday. Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Winnipeg.
Now what's this guy doing up here in Manitoba?
He was holding the map up.
Every salvage mission that's been through this system has disappeared. Even those old pirates out at Winnipeg Drift say it's cursed.
Cursed. Winnipeg's got a great ballet. Have a good time, I swear to God.
Sweet guinea pig of Winnipeg! They've taken over our company!
Balderdash! I never agreed to that!
I should have stayed in Winnipeg, you know? I had a nice gallery, 3 paintings on the wall.
Are you kidding? And you look back. Born home, Quebec. Drafted out of the juniors in the 5th round to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Played for a year with the Leafs, then traded to the Winnipeg Jets, then to Calgary, then to Boston.
Wow. So Winnipeg must get pretty cold up there.
That's it! Back to Winnipeg!
Oh, that is Nicole's first time watching that.
That is proof that the media loves Winnipeg. We have become like the ultimate backside joke. It's funny how many times we get mentioned in movies and television, but nobody actually likes visiting our city.
You know, and I'll say this, and I'm sorry I had to step away for some commercial breaks on my side of the fence here, Willow, but I'll say this. I had no idea that the word Manitoba in Canada had been mentioned in so many different movies and so many different TV programs, because I was born at the tail end of when everything was made, because, 90s kids. But I'll say this. That is the most electrifying and most creative and original intro I've seen for a show in decades. So well done,
Thank
Willow.
you. Thank you.
Gold star for you. 10 points to Gryffindor. You get,
You
free
can
steak
tell
dinner.
I'm a huge late night television fan with the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
Come on,
Ryan.
Brian.
Hey, Ryan. I can see Willow like Jim Carrey in The Mask. You love me. They really, really love me.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole spiel. Yeah, there's a 90s throwback for you. By the way, The Mask, 90s classic. Go watch it, kids, if you have no idea what we're talking about. But, yeah, Willow, that's it's great. And by the way, when you say Bargain Basement Studio, hello, hold on a second. We're professionals. We have upbeat studios. You have an advanced studio now with your new camera operators, your new microphones. Brian and Nicole, on the other hand, they might be.
Keep in mind, I did not pay for this camera.
But still, I think Nicole and Brian, I don't know if their studio is more up to date as mine and yours are. I mean, I got a background in this lovely studio of mine that cost me, millions of dollars. But don't worry, my agents paid for it. But
I said,
Yeah.
who do we have to, who do we have to get on the show to like pay for a backdrop for us? I'm like,
Garrett.
we got nothing.
Well,
I'm like, we didn't get any love.
Hey, but we're giving love to Josh Bauer.
Well, yeah.
I mean, the artwork is great, and Josh's artwork is fantastic. And Josh Bauer, J Bauer Art, go to jbauerartshop.com for more information.
Oh,
There's
well,
your plug, buddy.
and we
we do have merchandise available.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Of
And-
all your favorite shows within the Hanging with Web Show Web TV family.
And J Bauer did our intro, so
He did.
You
And
know,
he did
it
my
is-
intro for
it is-
Nerd Culture.
it is a huge, we're paying homage to. But
Yeah, I gotta
I was
say
like,
that
I want something that makes us look official.
We want a Reels and Heels tapestry in the background for our friends in Florida known as Nicole and Brian. Can we do that, ladies and gentlemen?
Tell you what, go to the dollar store or Walmart if and when you guys have a moment.
If and when you have a moment to step away from parenting.
Get yourself some green fabric and make yourself a green screen.
Yeah.
Pretty cheap. You can do that
always
pretty
do that,
cheap.
by the
Yeah.
way.
Well, we can put it up in the in the backdrop. I think we can have a thing, but it just makes you look fun. Like when you move, you got
all fuzzy
funkiness happening around you.
And since we mentioned him, I might as well go ahead and do this.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Back Talk with Bauer. I am Josh of J Bauer Art, the host of this crazy mess I call a show.
Back Talk with Bauer. Interview. Observation. Insights. Discussion. And lots of antics, hijinks, and shenanigans. It's all on Back Talk with Bauer.
I will catch you guys later.
Oh man, I love that.
Thank you, Josh. Putting me in your intro, man. You didn't have to do it, but you did it anyway.
I aspire to such greatness with that editing.
I know, seriously. His editing skills, his graphic, what is it? Nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills. No, I'm kidding. That's a movie reference for you millennials out there. Hey, Napoleon, don't be jealous just because I've been talking to babes online all day. Anyway, no, that was a great intro. And Josh Bauer, J Bauer Art, if you go to his website, he's got tons of stuff up right now. I mean, he's got artwork up the kazoo that he wants to have you get for your family members and your friends for the holiday season. He's got his Black Friday deals going on right now. So go to his Instagram, Twitter, whatever. J Bauer Art, you can find it there. Josh, we love you, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
why are we here again? Oh, yeah, we're talking about some dude named The Undertaker who's only been wrestling for over 3.5 decades. So how do you want to wrap this up, Brian? Any last thoughts before we get on out of here and eat some dinner?
We need to roll.
Nope.
I think their computer did it for them. This is what happens when you play your intro, Willow. It messes things up. No, I'm kidding. We love you, Willow.
Yeah. Well, minus the strange little thing that just happened to us. I promise not to type the comments anymore. But it, I guess for me, as the older I get, the more sentimental I get, I guess. So, for me, it's always nice to watch someone be that honest to God's person where they're reaching out to the people that are coming up and elevating everybody by being that type of person. And, I sat here and cried the whole last episode of The Last Ride. And I think that is, I wasn't ever a huge Taker fan. I would always tune in for the matches, but it wasn't like I was buying a t-shirt. But I think now it's you think about how important our lives are because we were fans. I feel like that about, Randy Savage and Roddy Piper. And I feel like that about, and will always feel like that about the Hardy Boys and Edge. And I think those people cement you're the tapestry of your life. It's kind of who am I because of that? And who am I because I've learned something from those people? So
that's a good way to end the show. I don't think anybody could top that.
I'm sure there's somebody that could.
Damn it! One of these days we will get a bell.
Yeah, one of these days, Brian, you need to have a bell behind me so I can do this.
Okay.
Ring the bell.
Well, there you go. You can do that. You
send
can
us a bell.
Send us a bell.
We'll send you a clapper, slab thing, and you send us a bell.
What? It's a slab.
Whatever it is.
So I just want
it's called a slab.
I do want to run one more ad because we're getting this book. We're getting this book on Monday for us to review, and
what book
I'm
is this?
excited to read it.
Stormgate Press presents a collection of 7 new short stories from today's leading authors and illustrators in the new pulp genre. Experience courageous two-fisted heroes and their intrepid and often dangerous exploits. From dark, watery depths to high-flying heights, these fantastic tales span the globe and take the reader on fast-paced adventures in classic pulp style. Take a seat as we pull back the curtain on Days Gone By with edge-of-your-seat storytelling in the vein of Golden Age era pulp fiction. This is Pulp Reality. Available now from Stormgate Press on Amazon.com.
Yes, my good buddy Charles F. Millhouse from Stormgate Press is sending us a copy for us to review.
Aww.
So we'll be reading that.
And he didn't invite me. No, it's all right. It's
all
fine.
Right.
It's on my Amazon list, Brian. Don't worry.
I think I can help with the bell sound.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Do you have
yeah?
a sound effect in the backstage area? What is
it? Whoops.
Oh. God. Whoops. Is that it?
How's that?
It's loading. Great. No, it doesn't want to play. Okay, well,
all right,
you
well,
tried. It's all right. You can go back to the cantina, grab yourself some blue milk like Luke Skywalker.
All right, ding ding, we're done.
Well, I think it's time
Ding,
for all of
fries
us
are
to head
done.
back
Ding,
to Death
fries are
Valley. Well, originally we were going to take next
we're not
week
gonna die.
off. We were going to take next week off, but something happened.
Let me tell him.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
Okay, so
Small Business
before
Saturday.
before the show in our green room, we were talking about how important like vehicles were to us, and so on the cusp of the end of 15 years of Supernatural, we were going to take the Saturday after Thanksgiving off and just kind of chill with fam, but I think we're going to pay some homage to our Supernatural family and just do some highlights and some, like just a little tribute show because I'm, like I said, I think I'm an addict. So, but it was one of those things. Like I finally caught up with the season, and I think I didn't watch 14 and I didn't watch 15 because I was so caught up in the fact that I didn't want it to be over. So it took me a long time to watch 14 and 15, and caught up on 15 this last week. And I watched the finale live, which I never do. I never watch anything live. I never watch it with commercials. I never watch anything with commercials anymore.
Yeah.
And I sat and I cried the entire last half hour. And so I really want to spend the next week's show really highlighting the fact that it was 15 years of my life, and it was 15 years of fun and 15 years of rock music and 15 years of muscle cars and monster hunting that I got to do with Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki. But yeah, I have a problem.
Yeah. But we'll be seeing Ryan on the December 5th episode as we talk Christmas films, Ryan.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and the
in
very
words of
heated
Arnold,
debate
I'll be back.
on the very heated debate on whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not.
All right, guys. If it has a tree, if it makes reference to any Christmas whatsoever, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, sure.
But we'll just
come out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that on the 5th. But until next
That's
week
later.
when we have Supernatural special, this has been Reels. Wait, yeah, the show ends.
No, it goes on forever.
Ding ding. See you next week.
Ding.
Be safe, everyone.
Done.